open this. So now we are reacting to the Smith Plays Retrospective series. I watched the Shadows of Evil one, but today it's time for the Eisendrache one. It's called the greatest COD Zombies map of all time. Oxyking. So if you haven't already, check out the Smith Plays. 3 million subscribers, much more than me, but sub to him. And I'm not sub because I'm on my YouTube channel, so you know that's why I'm not subbed. So don't hate me. But let's start reacting to this video. I'm excited to hear what he has to say about this map, you know. Let's hear it.
The road is long and dark, but I know where we are going. We will complete our mission.
Let's see.
Before February 2nd of 2016, Treyarch had released 18 Zombies maps in total. This marked 18 opportunities to hone and perfect their craft. 18 chances to explore new ideas, experiment with features, and see what does and does not work. And eventually in the process, you get to a point over the many years where you establish a winning formula. And really, I think this is something that's true for anything in life. In the realm of zombies, I think a lot of people might even say that for Treyarch, this formula was discovered years ago. But it's actually here in today's episode that I believe the structure was finally perfected. For Treyarch's 19th Zombies release, they took every concept, every idea that had made the series so loved, and it all finally culminated into the most well thought out Zombies map of all time. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Zombies Retrospective. Get comfortable.
Literally one of the best series ever on YouTube, I'm just saying.
As we take a look at the one and only, their Eisendrache.
I'm excited to hear what he has
Now
to say.
today, guys, we've got an awesome sponsor, and I am really genuinely
Yo, sponsored!
Vessi. Vessi is probably like, I don't know, the coolest shoe company out
Yo,
there. There's something that I am
shoes?
genuinely
Yo,
so
you want some
really
shoes,
excited
bro?
to
Yo.
So first of all, not only do their shoes look
They
awesome,
look
but
cool,
they're
though.
super comfortable. Vessi shoes
Oh.
are incredibly stretchy, and they basically just fit like a sock right over your foot.
Whoa.
But coolest of all, they're waterproof and weatherproof.
Yo, weatherproof and waterproof, yo.
The other thing that's really cool about Vessi is they actively try to reduce their carbon footprint with a super efficient manufacturing process. Since they sent me a
Yo.
pair, I've actually been wearing their shoes more than any
Pog
other shoe
champ,
and I
dude.
absolutely plan to continue to do so. And honestly, they're a company that I was just super excited to work with because I love their shoes. And so it would be awesome if you guys could go show them some love and check out their shoes in the top link down below. VessiFootwear.com/TheSmithPlays will get you $25 off your first pair. And so with that being said, let's get into it.
Let's go.
And lastly, before we do get into it, only half of you guys who actually watch my videos.
Yeah, guys, subscribe to Pat. Come on, man. Subscribe to him. He puts out awesome content, man.
Are currently subscribed. So if you could please hit that button and help
Yeah,
us out, that
hit
would be
it, man.
super appreciated. One of the coolest things about Black Ops 3 Zombies is that every map's central
You should do
theme
it too.
revolves around an individual character. In all previous games, World at War, Black Ops 1, and most of Black Ops 2, we saw that the location would set the tone of the map, with the characters acting as supporting pieces to the overall content. Black Ops 3 flips this on its head and made it so a single character was the primary focus from each map. Zetsubo is based around Takeo, Garad follows
True.
Nikolai, and the
True.
Giant supports Richtofen's arc.
True.
Shadows of Evil even serves to prop up the main antagonist of the series, the Shadow Man, who acts as the face
True.
for the evil Apothecon force. And of course, Eisendrache builds itself off of our beloved archetypal soldier, Tank Dempsey. In all
Tank
these cases,
Dempsey,
it's not just that the map's
my
storyline
guy.
revolves around the character, but that the very core of the map draws inspiration from their personalities. Zetsubo is humble and somber like Takeo, whereas Garad is brash and in-your-face exactly like Nikolai. And Eisendrache sits somewhere in the middle of that spectrum, being bold at times but reserved at others. And of any of the Black Ops 3 Zombies maps, as far as tone goes, I think it hits the best balance. Okay, So this is gonna be weird, but because storyline is the most defining feature of this
No, we're
I
getting
think
an
we
ad.
actually need to talk about it first for
Den slette gutten.
No, stop. This is not a promotion channel. No. Moru, if you wanna sponsor me, bro, yo, I got you, dude, but nah.
once. Actually, if you're wondering why this video took so long, it really just came down to formatting. I've come to learn that DE is very different from the rest of Zombies maps, and because of that, we had to do a lot of changes to our script. But
Yo.
anyways, the story of this map starts with Drak's opening cutscene, and it's actually quite disappointing. So far in the series, Blundel's lineup of
True.
maps has seen nothing but amazing intros. You've got Mob, Origins, Shadows, and the Giant. I mean, basically like
True.
the best
I wonder why they did this like cartoony like
four
intro.
intros of all
Like
time.
it's
And
weird. It's
surprisingly,
literally the
this
best map,
cutscene leaves us feeling with
and
a
they
lot to
chooses to
desired.
use
While
a
comic-style
cartoon,
cutscenes have
like,
a track
nah,
record worse than live animations, it doesn't necessarily make them bad. It's not the art style itself that might be bad, but rather how you deliver it. Classified's cutscene is impeccable, but sadly, this fails to do much for me. The chase scene with the Origins robot doesn't really allow itself to be exciting due to the comic style. Comparatively, imagine how cool it would be to see our crew riding in an animated Origins robot. From
That
here,
would be
Dempsey
pretty
gives us
cool.
some vague quotes about securing a package, more mindless killing, and then he finishes with how he shouldn't have trusted Richtofen. It doesn't do a lot to entice the viewer to care about what is going to happen here. I especially find it surprising that this is so underwhelming when the dialogue that is used in the cinematic trailer happens to be so good.
Field report. En route to somewhere new.
This trailer is sick.
Somewhere cold. Real cold.
There are some amazing lines, and I think the cinematic trailer could have actually made for a better intro. So sadly, Drak fails to set the tone with their opener, and it's really the first misstep we've seen as far as Blundell intros go. But all of this is forgiven as soon as you spawn into the map. Drak does a great job with the rest of its storyline. Most notably, DE continues to highlight the transition and focus for zombies. WoW and BO1 were almost entirely focused on gameplay, and you really had to dig deep for the lore. It was only in Black Ops 2 where this started to come towards the forefront with things like Samantha and Richtofen telling our characters what to do. I think it's on DE where we see the story almost even overtake gameplay as the main focus of the map. And frankly, I'm a little bit torn on this. I think Shadows managed to blend storylines seamlessly into the gameplay so that they felt one in the same, just like with Mob. But Drak follows a closer path to Origins, where the storyline and narrator really hijack the atmosphere of the map. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it does create a repetitiveness which is felt for most players who are not trying to do the Easter egg. Another thing fantastic about DE is the map has amazing dialogue between characters, and it really continues to reinforce the realness and seriousness of Black Ops 3's storyline. And I think probably the most exciting aspect of dialogue in this map comes from the interactions between Richtofen and an old name from the storyline, Dr. Groff.
Dr.
Groff
Groff,
worked on the
my
moon with the
guy.
device. He was working with Richtofen in Group 935, and we come to learn that Drak takes place prior to the final events of Black Ops 1 Zombies. You know, where that pesky Earth goes boom. From a literary perspective, the
boom.
use of Dr. Groff as an antagonist is incredibly effective, as he essentially works as a foil to highlight Primus's Richtofen's new actions. Looking back, we knew Ultimus Richtofen was evil and horrible, but I think it's important to recall that there was a time where we didn't know what the intentions of this new Richtofen were. Many people still didn't trust him, but these dialogues help to win us over. Groff starts speaking with Richtofen as though everything is normal, relieved to hear he survived Doris. But as things progress, he begins to grow confused. Richtofen tries to convince him everything is under control, but Groff ultimately learns Richtofen is working against him and vows to kill him. This moment is very important in Richtofen's development, as his betrayal to an old ally shows his benevolent intentions. He's going beyond his old self as a change changed person. And again, it's really the perfect foil. Now, as things continue to progress, Ultimate Dempsey's pod is brought back down and the Vril device is retrieved. Richtofen then sends the Keeper to the moon base to retrieve the MPD, that big pyramid thing that Samantha comes out of.
And
From
then
here, the
he
corrupted Keeper is
eats
defeated and
Dr.
we get probably
Groff.
the most
Yo,
satisfying
yeah.
moment in Call of Duty Zombies history. The crew directs the missiles of Eagle's Nest to fire. Their target is none other than Griffin Station. And like we had seen before in the events of Moon, the missiles fly into the sky, make contact with, and completely obliterate the celestial body we looked out at all game. It's beautiful, it's epic, it's a perfect reversal, and it is in and out of itself probably the greatest single moment in Zombies storyline. The only things even in the same conversation is probably the ending to Moon and Flood. We stopped the events of Black Ops 1 Zombies from happening at all, and with this, we change the future. It completely retcons Black Ops 1 and solidifies a new storyline for Primus. Like, come on, this ending is so perfect. I still get chills from hearing that music play, hearing that one piano chord, seeing those rockets fly up, hearing Dr. Groff curse Richtofen. It is literal perfection. Oh my god, and we have so much more to talk about. Not only is DE important in a macro
first time we did
it, but it does more.
Got so many goosebumps, man.
It displays
so amazing.
Huge character progression for our crew. In the moment before he's about to kill Dempsey, Richtofen restrains the other three, clearly indicating the distrust he still holds for them. But in an open moment, Dempsey pleads, and Richtofen actually allows him to be the one to kill Ultimus Dempsey. That moment, that subtle click on the summoning sphere, where he releases control. That is one of the most powerful moments in Richtofen's arc. This is the moment where Richtofen finally trusts his allies. We then get Dempsey's moment with his unconscious self, and it's really, really nice, despite actually being quite sad. We even get to see Richtofen comfort Primus Dempsey, and this further displays the bonds our characters are growing. Now, one thing that I think is worth mentioning is I'm a little bit sad that we never got to see a true interaction between the two tanks. I've always wondered whether this was a misstep in the story, but I think it's certainly debatable. Every other moment we see shared between the two versions of characters has been incredibly powerful, if not heart-wrenching. And with the lack of this on Dreisendrack, I've always wondered why Treyarch didn't include a dialogue. So Takeo willingly gives his life for the preservation of the universe. However, Richtofen and Nikolai were understandably not so quick to agree. And just consider this.
They just shot
How would a
them.
conversation between the two Dempseys go?
Killed
I imagine the
the
hot-headed
others.
version might not be so quick to die either. And if that were the case, the resistance to go might have made Nikolai's moment redundant. So perhaps this was very intentional. But I still think something could have been done, however. Imagine a situation where Primus Dempsey convinces his alter ego. We would get to view this angry tank slowly being convinced to do the right thing. It would feel like a general talking to a soldier about doing his duty, and I think this would have been a really powerful moment. It kind of would have drawn on both Takeo and Nikolai's cutscenes, starting with resistance, but ultimately seeing Tank accept. And so while I do wonder if they missed a cool opportunity here, it's still a great cutscene. And I totally respect the decision that they took to focus on character development for Richtofen and Dempsey. And so now, in an interesting reversal of events,
No, another ad.
Let's talk about game.
Just as we're about to talk about gameplay. God damn it. Fuck XXL, no. Don't do that.
So, first of all, we've got a couple new features that I don't want to dwell on too long. First of all are the Ragnarok DG4s.
So cool.
Drawn straight from multiplayer, these gravity spikes are absolutely brilliant and are a blast to use.
Yeah.
Despite this, however, they still managed to be the least exciting of the 4 real specialist weapons we were given. The sword, skull, and gauntlet all beat it in my opinion. It's not even close. And this isn't a knock against
Could
the
debate
Ragnaroks
to
the
say
slightest,
agree there.
but rather a testament to how good
Could
the
agree with
other
that.
specialist weapons are. We
But
also
still
see
cool.
use of wall running and anti-gravity return into the
But that
main
says
chamber.
all about how
This is
good
a bit
Black
of a
Ops 3
neat gimmick
Zombies
that
is,
adds an
actually.
extra dynamic to the area, as well as really serving to provide a ton of steps for various quests. You've got the plunger, lightning bow, LMG wall buy, and the rocket test all using this same feature. We also see the introduction of the Wonder Sphere. Drystrack is probably
Yo,
Treyarch's
they are
second
so
most well laid out map,
good.
only behind Shadows, and the Wonder Sphere play a big part in that. They connect the upper and lower courtyards as well as the rocket pad to the Death Ray, and Spawn of course. This combined with a few other shortcuts gives DE an incredible layout, and I very rarely find myself ever being too far from where I need to be. It's not Shadows level
True.
perfect, but compared to the likes
Makes
of
the map so
Origins
much
and
better.
Mob, the smooth map design is very noticeable. We also see the Panzer return, but with a few changes. He's a whole lot beefier to start, and now has a shock grenade instead of the claw, which he boasted on Origins. Overall, I think the Panzer fits well into DE and makes a welcome return that I think
It
most
does.
people were happy with. It's
That makes the
novel,
map so
but fresh, and
recognizable
isn't that a
to
concept we've
Origins
seen
as
play
well.
somewhere out before? So in the Shadows retrospective, we came to the conclusion that Shadows of Evil is mostly inspired from Mob of the Dead, but it blends itself with Origins elements to make something new. Dreisendrach takes that same formula, but in reverse. In a lot of ways, DE is an Origins 2.0. We've got the Primus
True.
crew in a snowy
True.
European country. The Panzer Soldat returns, there
True.
are 4 elemental wonder weapons, and
True.
a large Easter egg where the first step is to acquire all 4 of them. But I think despite these
True.
similarities and how often people try to draw these two together, Dreisendrach manages to find a new identity in an even bigger way than Shadows did. In my opinion, Dreisendrach is basically a blend of Moon and Origins with a sprinkling of Mob of the Dead. And so let's dive into that idea. For almost all players,
Damn.
Dreisendrach's opening step will be the creation of the Wrath of the Ancients, aka the Bow Step, aka Feed the Dogs, I mean dragons. While DE very
Yo,
clearly
dogs?
draws off of Origins with the 4 elemental wonder weapons, it really doesn't feel anything like Origins to begin with. I mean, for starters, this opening step is so obviously drawn on from Mob of the Dead. To get the bow, you must go to 3 locations
True.
around the map and kill 8 zombies to 3
Very
stone
true.
dragons. It's identical to the Hell's Retriever step and is really the most obvious use of something from Black Ops 2.
dog.
I will say I
Mother-
find feeding the dragons to be
Sorry,
a little bit
cats.
slow as you have to wait for animations before you get to the
True.
next zombie. It does make early rounds a little bit tedious, and I would have rathered something more fast-paced like those soul chests on Origins. But it was a good step in Mob, and I think it still manages to work okay here.
I love
Especially
that step.
because despite how similar it is
It's
to
so
Mob,
fun.
it's presented in a new
Still
way.
that it's
On
it's a
Mob,
little
you're
bit
feeding
slow,
the
but
dogs as a side quest for a specialist weapon, but really what your main focus is acquiring the plane parts. See, on Dreisendrach, this is the plane part quest. That is to say, it's your main focus, and so
Exactly.
despite it being a literal copy of a step in Mob, it still manages to feel fresh because of its significance for map progression. Now, the next natural thing to talk about here are the upgraded bows. Feels a little bit wrong because that's a hugely integral step to the Easter egg, which I don't feel quite ready to talk about. Like I said, Dreisendrach, it was a weird map to write for. But with that said, I guess we're basically moving on to the Dreisendrach Easter egg now. So upon acquiring the Wrath of the Ancients, the second step of the DE egg is for each player in-game to acquire an elemental bow. Unless you're playing on local, and then you have to get all 4. Sorry, local players. So I think it's really
Yo, local players, anyone? Yo.
only here where Dreisendrach starts to feel a little bit like Origins. A lot of people like to make it seem like DE is Origins 2.0, but there really aren't that many similarities until you start upgrading the bows, and even then, it's pretty limited. While 4 elemental wonder weapons is straight out of Origins, the actual steps themselves couldn't be more far apart. First of all, there's only a single base wonder weapon on DE rather than an individual lightning, fire, wind, and ice-based weapon. And second, the processes are completely different. Instead of finding 15 pieces for the first half of the first step, you literally just need to feed 3 dragons. It completely
True.
cuts out what is otherwise an overly tedious step for most players, and this very clearly separates itself from Origins. And even as an Origins fanboy, I must admit that this is where we see the beauty of DE. While they were inclined to draw inspiration from Origins with the Wonder Weapons, they very obviously learned from their mistakes. Overcomplication isn't necessarily
That's a sad
good
thing about
thing.
Origins. You
Unlike
have to get
Origins,
so
their
many
Rise of Dark
parts. You
starts
have to
with
place
true
this there and
simplicity,
there, blah
but
blah blah.
provides you
Get
with the
that, boom, 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 boom,
opportunity
and
to
then boom,
if
you have a
and so
stuff
those looking for a
upgraded.
challenge with a big reward can seek the
And that's why the
upgrade
Rise and Dark is
thus
so
beginning
good, but
the real Easter egg.
still good
Now,
though.
frankly, the upgrade steps for the bows aren't really that complicated. That doesn't mean they're not challenging, but they're not complicated. Origin staffs take knowledge, and really not very much skill is required other than a tank jump and just the general ability to survive. On DE, the bows supplement the requirement for knowledge with skill, and this is another way in which they differentiate.
True.
So of the four, I think the firebow is probably the most challenging of the bows to craft. And this is
True.
because the high level of precision is required for two of the steps. You must make shots into fireplaces as
Fireball
well as
is
nail
too
wonders
hard, I
with
think.
launcher
They
circles.
should have made
While
it
an
so much
interesting
easier,
step,
but
the only problem with the fire upgrade is that it's near impossible on a poor connection. Solo
Yeah.
games may be fine, but doing this on 120 ping or more is infuriating. I
Yeah,
actually
it's so
dislike
hard,
the
I
firebow
think.
because not only is it a challenging upgrade, but it also provides
too
the
hard,
least
I think.
useful bow
But-
of the four. The firebow is quick to kill, as they all are, and while its charge shot is very effective, I just don't find it to serve a practical role that the other bows don't fill better. It doesn't have the amazing kill radius of the Storm and Void, and it isn't near as safe as the Wolf. It sits in a weird middle ground area that I just find to be the least exciting
True.
as well as the least
I never
useful.
made it,
At
so
least I think so, anyway. I've never actually used it because my favorite YouTuber still hasn't uploaded a tutorial on
oh, he did it! No! Noah J456, love him. Hasn't made a firebow to this day. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
JAFK viewers, please subscribe to my YouTube channel.
That's so
Now,
funny.
next up, let's talk about the wolf bow. The wolf bow is hands down the easiest to craft, but
Yeah,
despite this, I still had to make it for Adam. The steps involve pressing square on some paintings, shooting a flag, picking up a skull, getting kills around the map, and handing some bones to a skeleton guy. It's really simple,
Pretty
and I
easy.
would argue that it's
Yeah.
a bow in which you
Probably
get what
the
you work
easiest
for.
bow.
That's because of the
In
four,
concept,
it's
at
probably
least.
the most geared towards a new player. First of all, it's not great into the later rounds, and secondly, it's probably the best bow for training. The wolf
Yeah.
bow closely resembles a thunder gun, and so it's a great safety weapon. I would rank it at 3 below Void and Storm simply because it doesn't have much in the way
It's
of a
so
secondary ability.
still
That is to say,
very
it's
good,
not as
but
good at killing large numbers
yeah,
of zombies
as Storm
quickly like Storm
and
Void.
Void,
All the bows kill
it's
about
not
800
better.
zombies, but in
So-
order to reach that with Wolf, you have to round everything up, and so it's pretty time consuming. For training, it's definitely the best bow, but ultimately I believe that Void and Storm will get you a little bit further. Now, the Storm bow is still amazing, but I gotta admit that I miss the days where it was a broken OP mess. Despite its necessary nerf, I still think it's considered to be the best of the four, but objectively, it's actually now pretty
Storm
close to Void.
before
Storm
the
bow is
patch
versatile, being both a
was the
great
best
training
bow.
and camping weapon. The single
And
shot from this
arguably
weapon
still is the
pretty
best bow,
fast to
but the
kill,
Void
which
bow
makes
is
it a
pretty
strong
good as
safety
well,
weapon,
so-
But the Storm bow doubles as a power weapon with its charge shot, which makes it incredibly effective at high round camping. The Storm bow's charge is straight out of Origins, very clearly resembling the Wind and Lightning Staff charged shots. This time it's an electrical storm, but it ultimately achieves the same effect, just actually a little bit better. The Storm bow combines the quick time to kill of the Lightning Staff with the absolute devastating qualities of Ice and Wind to really truly be one of the most dynamic wonder weapons to ever grace zombies.
True.
I think on paper it's not quite as good as the Ice Staff for high rounds, but it's more well-rounded. And on top of that, it's not even
But I
the
agree
hardest
with
to
that.
craft. Being the second easiest, just make a couple well-aimed shots around the map and you'll be zapping panzers in no time. And so now lastly, we have the Void bow. The Void bow has the most Origins-like upgrade step, requiring players
The Void bow is 100% the coolest bow.
to find skulls around the
100%
map,
the
get
coolest bow.
symbols, and actually solve
Because
a
the
puzzle.
Storm bow is
The
just
Void
a
by
storm.
far the most unique of the bows. First of all, its coded name is Demon Gate, which is just
Yeah, look at that.
awesome. It opens portals from another realm, which unleashes skulls onto all zombies nearby. How cool is that?
It's
also
literally
got
the
an
coolest bow.
insanely large
It's
kill
no
radius,
nothing
which just
to
seems
be
make
debating.
rounds flyby.
The fire
Players
is
can open
like
up multiple
so
portals at a time as
to
well to
look
effectively
like
kill
the
anything
fire
within a
boy.
Nocturne totem of himself. On top of that, the regular shot from the void is still very quick to kill, making
Yeah.
it just as dynamic as the
It's
storm.
literally
And
probably
way
the
that
best
skulls
bow.
wander to kill distant
Like,
zombies also fills a
but
huge
debatable
support
because
role
of the
that makes
storm.
training easier for both
But-
yourself and teammates. Plus, it just has the coolest animation of the four. And so while maybe not quite as useful as the storm, it is the coolest of the bows, no debates, and my personal favorite. I think it's also worth mentioning that the
Definitely.
bows are all very close to each other in ability. Their drawbacks
Yeah.
and benefits almost drawbacks. Their drawbacks and benefits.
The
almost
fire is
entirely
like
depend on the player
like
using
similar
it,
to
and
the
so more
staff,
often than
fire
not,
staff
the
from
choice of which to
Origins.
use comes down to
The
personal
wolf is
preference, and
like a
that's
little
great thing.
weak,
Wolf may
like
be
doesn't
slightly
take
worse
in
than Storm, but to
doesn't
a
take
lot
that
of players,
many
it's their
zombies
favorite,
out,
as
but it's best for
their
training either way.
playstyle.
So
And at the end of the day, I think that's what
But-
really makes the bows shine. They pretty
I don't
much
know.
all serve a purpose, and on top of that, they don't require cheat sheets to be crafted like the staff.
true. Yo, yeah. Origins, by the way.
Building them takes a little bit more skill and a whole lot less memorization. So overall, the bows are beautiful, powerful, and original. They are the cornerstone feature of Der Eisendrache and the only set of wonder weapons and zombies that are in the same league as the staffs. And so
But
finally,
I'm
after
underestimating big
crafting all four bows, a full squad will now
True.
be onto the main portion.
I don't need cheat sheets. True, you don't need that, bro. You don't need that, bro.
Easter egg.
True.
While time-consuming, this step
You have
doesn't
all of them
really
in the
dominate
big
quest,
brain.
which is a nice
True.
change up from Origins. Treyarch was smart here, and they made it so that you're only expected to make the numbers of bows as players are in your lobby. And so
Oh,
solo
yes,
players
yeah.
only need to make one. Again, so
You
are
don't
solo
need that
players.
cheat
I
spreads
often
when you
wonder
got
how
a big
Origins
brain.
would play if you only needed
Subscribe and follow the
staff, and
stream.
in a lot of ways, I think it could be more enjoyable. It would also be less deep though, so honestly, I'm just happy that both of these formats exist. Especially because beyond the bows, the egg does not stick to an Origins theme, and I believe that the egg moves more into something that mirrors the likes of Moon. Now, to be honest, I can't say that I really love the rest of this egg. As a whole, I find it to be far too linear for my liking, but that's not to say that it's objectively
Too
bad.
linear.
Personally, I'm someone who likes an egg where all bets are typically off and that you can't really follow a script. That's why I love Origins. It's an egg that truly requires improv, and DE does not give me that at all. The
No,
bow
true,
process
true.
is linear, and from
But
there
that's
on,
pretty
the
much all with Black Ops 3 Easter eggs. You have to do that, then that, then that, then that, then boss fight, you're done. Unlike Origins, you can do that, then you can do that, and then you can do that before that, and then that, and before that, and boom, boss fight, you're done.
feels on rails. After upgrading
So,
all four bows,
that's
players
just Black Ops
begin
3 for
Wisp
you.
Step, a
You have to
mindless
follow the
task
path.
that involves running around the map and hoping to get lucky that certain areas are electrically charged in the right order. While this can go easily sometimes, players often find themselves needing
But I find that step
to
kind of funny, or not funny, but
which,
good
by the
because
way, Der Eisendrache is massive, weighing in at a hefty 26 Nocturne Totens. So
yo 26 Nocturne Totens, yo Pog.
all that running doesn't make for a fun time. So after shocking the four wisps, you travel back in time, get a
I think that
cutscene
step
from
is pretty
Grok, where
cool.
You also get the code for the vault, fuses,
You
and
pick
the
up
soul
those,
chamber rod
you
thing.
get the
This
code.
is neat, but after a while, I admit it does feel a little bit repetitive.
Yeah, but
here though, I think we start to see the worst part.
that's
of
the
this
cool
game.
thing about it, I
After you
feel
insert
like.
the code and get the rods for the death ray, the game wants you to travel back in time again. You don't necessarily have to do it right away, but it's one of the next 3 steps, and regardless where you do it, it's just repeating a previous step,
Yeah,
which wasn't
that's what I said. Like, doing it the second time is actually dumb, because like
on the first
you
time.
should
But
be
the next
able
step-
to pick up the stone the first time as well. I feel like, because doing the literally same step is a kind of a little bit boring when you're literally in the same room, you know.
infuriates me is the reason we have to go back a second time. You'd think it'd be cool, right? Some double time travel, crazy multiverse type.
Yeah, if it would be another room, another like place or anything like that, that would be cool.
thing, right?
But
Straight
literally you do the
out of
same thing.
textbook 101. No. It's just because we need to go back and get a rock. Yeah.
True.
So you must search the same wisps again, just so you can travel back in time to get another piece from the exact same room you were already in. A piece in the box. That
It's a
was
little bit
already
dumb
there the
if you
first
think
time
about
you
it.
went. It
Yeah.
is stupid and it adds nothing.
Yeah.
Honestly, I
If you think
it
about
serves
it, it's
no other
actually
function than
stupid.
to draw the egg
To
out,
do it
and
2
really
times,
just
if
hurts
it
the
would be
flow
another
of it.
room
One whisk
or
around is
anything else
bearable,
of a step we
two
have
is
to do to
redundant,
get a
but
rock,
to not even give
that
it
would
a
be cool.
meaningful purpose
But
just
literally
feels
doing the
like so
same
far
thing
actually
is dumb.
fairly decent.
It's actually a little
Now
bit
from
dumb.
here you get a step that completely mirrors Moon. Instead of the Simon Says game, well,
That step is
it's
amazing.
basically that. You basically remember the 4 symbols and it tells
I
you
think
which
that step is so
symbol
cool.
it does. It's a cool step that very heavily draws from Moon. And so then
Yeah.
from here you'll be able to bring Dempsey back from space. This is
So cool.
admittedly a
And all of
very
this,
nice
it's so cool.
step. If Dryzen
Amazing.
Track follows a 3-act arc, this would almost be the 2nd act climax. It really gives some much needed energy to the egg and makes you feel like you're getting close to being done. You even get the Vril device, which is some really well executed fan service that again relates back to Moon. Now from here it's on to the Keeper step, which continues to
This
raise the
step
pulse with a bit of action. There's
so
4
cool.
locations where each can only be charged by a single bow, so to play this efficiently, players have to rely on whoever's bow the area belongs to. This makes for tense moments where you must rely on both your
I love
teammates
this
and the
step.
power of said bow. Really,
Probably the
this is
best,
smartest
Easter egg
of the
step.
whole egg, as it gives a
100%.
moment for each bow to shine. Forcing you to actually use the power weapon of the map is a neat step that I think Origins really could have benefited from. Actually, it's a little bit ironic that for an Easter egg which relied so heavily on crafting them, you're never required to use the Origin staffs.
That's what I said to you, Norway Gamer. Like, you literally, in Origins, you don't need the staffs. You just need to build them and place them down places. You don't need them. On the Rise and Dry, you need the bows, or you're not gonna do the Easter egg.
And so Dryzen Track
It's
was very
literally
smart to make a
so
step that
cool.
it does, however, and it's another area where we see Treyarch continue to learn from previous maps. Now, after completing
True.
all 4 Keeper locations,
Because you literally don't need to use the bow, no staffs in Origins. You need to build them and place them down places. You literally don't need to use them.
It is so cool. So, the Keeper is unleashed upon Griffin Station, where it kills Groff and his crew, and it then brings back the MPD. That's the thing that made the original Richtofen go mad and what Samantha appears out of. And then, in this brilliantly repeated, this mirrored moment, the MPD teleports back to Dryzendrak and begins to lower. However, this time it is revealed that the Keeper is inside it, corrupted by its power. And so then it's here, in the final step, we have Dryzendrak's crowning achievement, the Keeper boss fight. So up until this point, Treyarch had never actually had a true boss fight. Call of Duty Ghosts had multiple boss fights.
Yo, Call of Duty Ghost!
Seems like Treyarch was
Where's my
unleashed
Call of
on
Duty
those.
Ghost
It
lovers?
too tried to have boss fights, but you've got the Weasel versus Crew step, you've got Raise Hell and Origins. They're not even close.
They're not boss
to what I would
fights.
consider a
It's
real
cool,
boss
but
fight.
they're not
Even
boss
Shadows
fights.
had nothing more than the Shadow Man fight, which again is not a boss fight. And so I think it's worth noting that Treyarch has actually
Shadows
seemed to
evil, man.
struggle with this area.
I love
of map
Shadows.
design. Especially compared to the big fights that Infinity Ward has put up, it's probably their weakest area overall.
But this
Black
boss
Ops
fight
3
is
only
pretty
has
good.
2 major boss fights over its 6 main maps, and this is something that has always shocked me.
But it's a
Fortunately
little
for
bit
this episode,
easy
however,
if you think
Dryzen
about
Track
it,
does
so-
have a great boss fight. Now, in
Yeah,
the overall
it's great.
realm of
It's a
gaming,
little bit
the
easy,
DE
but
boss fight is using
pretty
the
good.
oldest formula in the book. But for zombies, it's quite impressive. The Keeper, like every boss fight ever, has 3 lives. It's got small, less powerful attacks and a big, large attack that can one-shot you. And then when he goes to do his large attack, you take advantage of the charge time and then stun him, leaving him open for damage. It is a tried and true method of gaming. Now, after taking 1 life away, you then get a seemingly endless wave of roided panzers, and then the process repeats itself until it loses all 3, quote, lives. Now, again, I know we all love this boss fight, and for zombies, it was a huge step for the series.
Yeah.
I just don't think people should act like it was truly as revolutionary for all of gaming as they did. For zombies, insane, fresh, truly innovative. But for gaming as a whole, again, it's like the oldest formula in the book. Not trying to
Yeah,
knock it
but
down,
it was still-
but it's just
still
worth
very good,
saying.
though.
Because, I mean, regardless, a boss fight was something we had been anticipating for a while, and so it was exciting to finally get it. A little bit late, but the Keeper boss fight will go down as the second coolest boss fight in Black Ops 3 Zombies. Then again,
Second? Yeah, yeah.
really
It's
doesn't
true.
have a lot
It's
to
true.
compete with. But that will be for
Like-
not even one, but two other retrospectives.
Yeah.
Now, as I mentioned, this
Like,
episode
like
was
the
really
Reisendrache
difficult
and like
in,
Guru
and so I've
Kruvi
got
boss
a few
fight.
other tangents that
I
just kinda wanna
love
rapid
the
fire list off
Reisendrache,
so that we can go through this pretty
but the
quickly.
boss fight on Guru Kruvi is just better. I gotta say, I gotta be honest. It's true. Why do I get double ads? Yeah, you agree? Yeah. It's 100%.
I have with the Reisendrache.
Like, harder as well, yeah. And that's making it so good. Like, the Reisendrache is too easy, but it's still very good for what it is. And it's technically their first boss fight.
Is that the Easter egg completely
But
hijacked
Guru Kruvi's boss fight is just
exactly like
better.
Origins, because the
It's just
storyline
better.
is so pushed into your face. I can't really.
I don't have
view
any
it as
problem saying
meant
that.
to be capped.
Still, I make
At least not
think
anymore,
the
but maybe
Reisendrache
it's
is
just my
such
YouTuber
much better map.
mentality and all that stuff. I just
Guru
feel like
Kruvi is still
personally, if I'm not
the
doing
best
an
boss
Easter
fight.
egg, I don't want to be
100%.
playing the map. I just find it very
This just
hard
makes
to
me so
separate
freaking
general
hyper
gameplay
zombies
from
in
Easter
Cold
eggs.
War, yeah.
Another thing I struggle
Like,
with DE
they have to make it perfect in Cold War.
are
Like,
the
they know
visuals. I
exactly
think
what
it's
to
very
do.
obvious that DE is
They
the
have to
closest thing
smash
to
it
an
now.
Origins 2.0, but this is an area where
Imagine
it feels
getting
like
Goro,
it's
Kruvi, Shadows of Evil, the Reisendrache maps in Cold War. Not those type of maps, but you know what I mean. That
back.
level of
Origins
good maps.
is
That
an
would be...
unappealing map, but they managed to balance it with giant robots, a beautiful
Yeah, they should
skybox,
know what
with
to do now.
dogfighting
Yeah, exactly.
airplanes, and a zeppelin. The Reisendrache is just
They have
another
some good
close
formulas
the
to
little
make some
town
good
of
maps
Wolfen,
now,
which
so
sits below it with the moon in the background,
they
is
have to
nice,
do. But
other than
for me, they have to be good gameplay like Black Ops 3 Zombies compared to like Black Ops 2, Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 4 Zombies. There has to be like BO3 gameplay, or I don't care how the maps are. It has to be good gameplay.
than that,
How you
it's just
move,
really not-
how the guns
not it
feels
for me.
and everything
Another
like
small
that
complaint I
has
have
to
is
be
needing to wait for
perfect.
the rocket test. This could have been easily fixed if they put
Yeah.
a switch to activate it down below.
This is a little negative thing. You have to
But as
wait
it sits
so
with the
long,
boring
like
point in gameplay,
5
and
minutes or
since
something.
It's required for 2 steps in the Easter egg as well. I think it's a pretty blatant misstep that could have been, again, easily fixed. Bad timing brings your game to a dead halt, completely killing any flow that you're feeling.
BO3
And my
will
last
only 2
complaint about
hits
this map
and die,
actually
and in
relates to
BO3
gun
3 hit and
variety.
die,
There
exactly.
are only 2 weapons that you need to use on this map, and we're all thinking the same thing. It's the KRM and some
They're gonna
variants
bring
of the
back
bow.
2 hits.
Every
Nah, I
single
don't think they're
time,
gonna do that.
no
They know
questions
now
asked.
that
That's what
they
90%
know the
of
formula 3
because
hit
of the
down
ridiculous help
and
from
Jug
damage, players
5
tend
hit
to
down.
overly
They know
rely
this
on the
now,
KRM to
100%.
the point where no other gun is
That's how this
considered.
works, yeah.
Now, KRM spam was bad for Shadows, but it is rampant on DE. Not a huge issue as I love the KRM, but sometimes I just feel like variety would be nice. Apart from monkeys, there is zero incentive to hit the box on DE, and I don't know, it just gets a little bit bland. And anyway, with the last of my nitpicks out of the way, I would now like to talk about DE in a more overarching conceptual sense. The map as a whole. We
Let's
talked
see them.
about every little detail, but I ask you, what is it that makes DE generally considered to be the greatest map of all time? I've thought about this for a while.
Let's see what he has to say about this,
And I think it comes
because
down to range. Reisendrache is probably the most dynamic Black Ops 3 Zombies map, and it is by far the closest thing to a casual experience, not counting remakes. The Reisendrache is great because of its ability to stay simple. Power is a single switch. Pack-a-Punch is 2 presses and a visit to its 3rd location.
True.
Even the normal bow process is super straightforward. While large, it's a map
True.
that starts out almost laughably easy in comparison to some of the other BO3 maps. And that is a thing of beauty. Reisendrache is so palatable, and this makes it perfect for casuals and hardcores. While it wouldn't have worked for the storyline, from a gameplay perspective, DE should have been the on-disc map. It works so beautifully to allow players to get comfortable.
Shadows
in
is so
space
good
and
as well, though,
gather
so-
their bearings. Shadows requires guides to even pack a punch, whereas DE feels as simple as Kino der Toten. You get comfortable, gather your bearings, but from there,
Yo, Kino?
you explore and then work to do more. It's this blank canvas that really allows players to explore naturally. You get the bow, then work to upgrade it, and eventually a player might even find themselves doing the entire Easter egg. And so in terms of range, DE literally has it all. And I think that is the true reason as to why it's considered to go. It can be casual if you want it to, but it doesn't have to be. It's not jarring from the start like Shadow. And of course, again, it's got the range. It's got a great boss fight, amazing wonder weapons, a fantastic storyline, all wrapped into a very well laid out map.
True.
What I think most interesting to note
He's
is that
speaking
it
facts.
doesn't even necessarily have the best anything. Is it the best boss fights? A lot of Garod fans are gonna debate that.
Exactly.
Best wonder weapons, certainly in the conversation, but Origins is there as well. Best storyline, it's always going to be mentioned, but again, Moon. Layouts, it's not quite Shadows, but it's better than any other Quest map. See, I don't believe that Drak is the best at anything, for that matter. Maybe storyline, but certainly nothing else. See, what makes it the best map overall is that every single facet of the map is in the upper echelon.
Yeah.
Almost everything in the map is at least
It's not
the
everything is
second
not
best. There are
completely
hardly
perfect,
any weak
but they're
spots in this
nearly
map,
perfect
when
and
they
pretty
exist, they're
perfect. So
tiny little nitpicks. And so all of this amazing content presented in what is surface level a very simple map is what makes it so
this is such a good like series, man.
And so here we are. In a lot of ways, Drak feels like it's set out with the intent.
Let's see what he ranks it. I think he ranked Shadows of Evil 9.7 and Origins and Mob of the Dead 9.6. So let's see what he ranks the Rise and Drak, man. He calls it the greatest zombie maps of all time, so let's see.
Level of gameplay we ever saw in a map. And DE can't boast that. But instead, it just made itself a map compatible for everybody. Hardcore and casual players alike love this map, and for good reason. It's got every single base covered. And so I would be inclined to call it not only the most well thought out map in Zombies history, but also the greatest as a whole. It might not be my favorite, but I think it does the best job of satisfying the most amount of people's needs in a game.
It's
Does it
definitely
have
the best
flaws?
map ever.
Of course.
I don't care.
Nothing is perfect, but nothing comes as close to perfection as Drak.
True.
And so with all that said,
Here we go.
the final rating for Drak is a 9.9 out of 10. Double S tier and our highest rated map.
Yo, 9.9, you know. A 9.9, you know. Damn. He literally made it the highest score yet. 9.9. Confirmed. The Rise and Drak is literally the best Code Zombies map ever. There it is. It's confirmed. He said it. Watch these episodes, man, if you haven't already. These maps are so good, man. So a 9.9. That's actually amazing. I can't wait for the next episodes, man. So if you haven't already, check out the Smith Plays. Please subscribe to him and watch his videos, man. They're amazing. And wait for these more of these episodes, man, because they're amazing. Let's go.